Grand Theft Auto fans have searched every corner of every GTA game and found some of the most insane secrets and Easter eggs. But let me tell you about the weirdest spots in the franchise that you might have gone past without even noticing. And what better place to start than the prologue of GTA 5? While most of you remember the prologue for its fast-paced gameplay, or some may remember it for the betrayal Michael did right at the end by faking his death. But if you stopped your car for a second and looked closely at this place, you'll find one of the most amazing, out-of-place Easter eggs in GTA that nobody expects to be there. During the prologue of the game, Michael, Trevor and Brad rob a bank in North Yankton before everything goes horribly wrong, and the police of the whole area gang up on you. You get only one option, and that's to escape and don't look back. You're focused on escaping the police and surviving the shootout, so players naturally never notice that Rockstar hid something extremely disturbing right in that place. As you're escaping in the getaway vehicle, you'll eventually reach a railway bridge crossing over a frozen river. Here, stop and witness this cool Easter egg. Just before crossing the bridge, turn off the road and drive down into the frozen river below. But beware. If you spend too much time exploring, the game will fail the mission because the crew has been abandoned. You've only got a few seconds to get down there, take a look and get moving again. But if you drive underneath the bridge supports and look through the ice, you'll find something completely unexpected. Buried beneath the frozen river is the body of an alien. Yeah, a literal alien. And fans have since then put on their Sherlock Holmes hat and started investigating what this alien is, and even connecting it to mysteries like the Mount Chiliad one. This creature is rendered with picture-perfect detailing. The first time you see it on the way, it's genuinely creepy, believe me. The same alien model appears later during Michael's bizarre hallucination sequence in Did Somebody Say Yoga, where Michael hallucinates and he sees odd, weird-looking aliens. And there's another detail. The prologue takes place in 2004, nearly a decade before the main story of GTA 5. That means this alien was already frozen beneath the ice years before Michael, Franklin and Trevor's adventures even began. Before we move on, take a moment and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty of videos incoming that I'm sure you don't want to miss. Moving on, Liberty City in GTA 3 always felt a little colder and stranger than the cities that came later. The city had the same unspeakable aura as the protagonist of the game, Claude, and like Claude, who never speaks, yet his actions speak for themselves. The city is also the same. It has this weird silence, but still the places feel eerie and weird. For me, I felt it the most at Portland Beach, or in some parts of the promenade on the west side of the island. You'd expect some people to be there, or at least some signs of people. But probably due to technical limitations, there is nothing. No signs of anything. No signs of any kind of presence from other people. There are some benches on the promenade or a parked car on the beach, but still, those places feel almost spooky. It is a beach area, but the place almost feels isolated from the rest of Liberty City. Massive cliffs surround the shoreline, and most of them are so steep that normal vehicles barely stand a chance of climbing them. The only real exception is during the Patriot Playground Challenge. There's a lonely rock island holding Liberty City's only lighthouse. The whole area was likely inspired by places like Coney Island and Fire Island around New York, but GTA gives it a stranger feeling. And then you look up, right on top of the cliffs, staring down over everything. There is Salvatore Leone's mansion and gentleman's club. Standing on the beach and seeing the mob boss towering above you makes the whole place feel oddly intimidating. And then there's the Bobcat vehicle. As you wander through this empty beach, you suddenly find a lone Bobcat there in the sand. Almost the entire coastline of Liberty City is made up of concrete seawalls. Portland Beach is the only actual sandy coastline in the entire game. You'd naturally expect it to be the main hub of different kinds of activities, maybe some tourists, people fishing, or just general city life. But when you walk down there, it's completely dead. And this silence is the reason the whole place looks really scary. Because of technical limitations and how the zones were drawn, pedestrians are not programmed to spawn in the beach districts. Unlike the beaches in Vice City and GTA 5 that are filled with pedestrians, this one is empty, and seeing an empty beach is pretty odd. There are no ambient voices, no footsteps, and no life. It's clawed, the sound of the wind and the waves. The layout of the beach makes it feel like a trap. It's just an empty stretch of sand. Really creepy, actually. I really don't know what's the case with Rockstar adding these weird abandoned beaches in their game, only to add a bit of horror to the game. The whole Vice City vibe is this colourful, neon-like vibe with lots of pedestrians at every corner of the map, but there's an abandoned beach that contrasts with the rest of the sunny map. It feels arguably even weirder. It's located at the westernmost point of the downtown district. The place is so empty that the community called it the Abandoned Beach. Aside from a few scattered palm trees, there's no life at all. The terrain itself is incredibly strange. It resembles a swampland, which perfectly fits the real-life Florida setting, but gives the whole area an incredibly eerie vibe. If you were active on the old GTA forums back in the day, you definitely heard about this place. It was one of the very first locations where players reported witnessing the infamous ghost ship. The lack of NPCs wandering around made players feel like they were constantly being watched, leading to a large number of ghost sightings. If you were playing Vice City Stories, this was also rumoured to be one of the prime locations where you could encounter the mysterious sniper. People started noticing something really weird while exploring the abandoned beach. Far out in the water, players kept claiming they could see strange objects moving around in the distance. Then, the rumours completely exploded. Some swore there was a sea monster hiding there that would drag Tommy underwater and kill him. The funny part is, Tommy Vercetti can't even swim. The second he falls into deep water, he instantly dies. So a lot of players were probably stepping too far off the shoreline, getting eliminated by the game's mechanics, and convincing themselves that some creature pulled them underwater. There's another abandoned creepy location right on Prawn Island. In the middle of this island, an area already infamous for its creepy, decayed mansions and relentless gang shootouts, surprisingly, there's a small, mysterious play area known to myth hunters as the Abandoned Park, or the Children's Park. The first thing that immediately scares you when you visit this park is the signs. There's a very prominent poster that reads, "Caution, children at play." But any veteran player knows there are zero children walking around in Vice City, or any 3D GTA game for that matter. This single sign sparked a huge community theory that Rockstar originally planned to include child NPCs during development, but eventually scrapped the idea before launch. Another sign in the park warns players of a fine for curbing dogs, and because this was the early internet era, people instantly started creating theories around it. Players noticed references to beasts, and somehow turned that into a rumour that hellhounds spawned there at night, guarding some dark creatures hidden in the park. But there was no evidence for it at all. But that's exactly how old gaming myths worked back then. One person says they saw something weird, another claims their cousin saw it too, and suddenly an entire legend is born. This area also got connected to the creepy Milligan Hotel nearby, making the atmosphere even stranger. Old YouTube videos even claimed a chainsaw killer wandered around the park at night. In reality, those clips were heavily modded games, but it only made the place feel more cursed. If you thought Vice City's abandoned beach was strange, San Andreas has something even weirder hidden in a completely normal suburban area, the Ghost Lake. Located in the Palisades of San Fierro, it looks like an ordinary park with two small lakes connected by a river. The lake itself doesn't count fully as a body of water, because the water texture can be seen, but if the player shoots at it or jumps in, they'll only notice water splashes on the floor of the pond, where the water level is located. Because of the water level glitch, there's no consequence of going underwater, as no lung capacity meter will appear. It's also possible to drive vehicles that are fully underwater. Similar to the lake of the same name in Back and Beyond, the Ghost Lake has a bug in which submerged vehicles turn invisible. While players originally made all sorts of wild ghost theories to explain this, it's almost definitely just a developer oversight. You can find proof of this if you look closely at your minimap. The icon for this specific area is bugged and shows grey concrete instead of blue water. It means that this was a late addition or a beta leftover that Rockstar simply forgot to finish coding. And if you need more proof of how unfinished it is, go check out the large fountain located in one of the lakes. The water texture filling up the fountain basin is completely solid. You can literally hop up and stand on top of the water like it's a concrete floor. It's a fantastic reminder of how wonderfully broken the 3D era could be. Deep in the northern Bone County desert, northwest of Area 69, there's a giant hole dug into the ground at the base of a rock formation. Inside that hole are 6 black body bags. All these things point to something weird that happened there. To make it even creepier, there's a Bobcat pickup truck parked right on the edge of the pit. The way it's parked makes it look like whoever was dumping the bodies had to run away in a hurry, leaving the truck behind. Because Rockstar never explains who dug the grave or who's in those bags, the community has come up with a ton of crazy suspects over the years. For a long time, players pointed the finger at Mr. Trenchcoat, a strange NPC who lives in a small house near El Quebrados. Anything weird that happens in San Andreas, the community tends to blame it on Mr. Trenchcoat. The theory goes that he murders people and dumps them in the pit. People tried to prove this by saying he drives the same kind of truck found at the grave, but that got debunked. The truck that spawns at his house is a Saddler, not a Bobcat. Another wild theory blames Mary Beth Maybell, the host of the K-Rose radio station. During her broadcast, she mentions that she has 6 husbands and that they are all now 6 feet under. 6 husbands, 6 body bags in a deep hole. She also broadcasts from Bone County and mentions driving a truck, which made players think the Bobcat belonged to her. Some players think the Syndico Mafia family is responsible. In the introduction, which, if you don't know, is a short prequel movie Rockstar released, you can see 2 Syndico thugs digging a grave in the desert. However, they're only digging a hole for 1 body, and the location in the video doesn't match the spot where the 6 body bags were found. Others think it might be Giorgio Forelli, a mafia member from Vice City. The Forelli family is known for being incredibly brutal, and some players think he might have dumped bodies there while visiting San Andreas. Because the grave is so close to the Area 69 military base, some people think the government is dumping the bodies of trespassers or even aliens. But this doesn't make much sense. A top-secret government facility wouldn't throw bodies in an open hole next to a regular pickup truck. They would, incinerate them to hide the evidence. There's a piece of lore on the official San Andreas website that mentions Colonel Henry Bolt. Back in 1862, he led his cavalry unit on an attack, but the whole squad supposedly fell into a hole and died. The site mentions a mass grave serving as a tribute to them, but the locations don't quite line up with where the in-game grave is, leading some to think the Colonel Bolt story is a fake tourist trap to cover up a modern murder scene. Finally, the most realistic answer is that the mass grave is a classic Rockstar Easter egg. It's meant to be a nod to the real-life Las Vegas Mafia, who famously used the surrounding Nevada deserts to make their enemies disappear. Well, a mass grave is certainly weird, but in GTA 5 there's a lone grave which is somehow even weirder. If you hike up to the peak of the Sanchiansky mountain range, south of the Cape Catfish Lighthouse, you'll stumble across a lone, unmarked dirt grave with a simple wooden cross right on the edge of the cliff. Because it's relatively close to Mount Gordo, probably the most famously haunted location in GTA 5, players immediately assumed this grave was also tied to some kind of paranormal activity. People spent hours standing next to it at night, waiting for a ghost to spawn, but nothing ever happened. It's just a normal grave. I think that this grave belongs to the mother of Ursula. If you remember playing the Strangers and Freaks side missions, Ursula is that hitchhiker you can pick up, who has a weird obsession with death and sickness. The geography lines up perfectly. Ursula lives in a creepy, isolated house right at the bottom of the very hill this grave sits on. If you listen closely to her dialogue while you're giving her a ride, she admits to killing her mother. Dragging the body up the hill behind her house to bury it in an unmarked grave overlooking the ocean fits her twisted character perfectly. But because this is Rockstar, a single location can serve 2 purposes. A large portion of the community believes this grave was also designed as a direct nod to John Marston's resting place in Red Dead Redemption. If you compare this mountain grave to John's iconic grave back at Beecher's Hope, the visual resemblance is undeniable. The amount of dirt, the rocks piled at the base, and the simple wooden cross look practically identical. And we know for a fact that Rockstar officially links this specific spot to the Red Dead universe, because they used this exact grave as a clue location during the GTA Online treasure hunt event to promote the release of Red Dead 2. Of course, the classic Grand Theft Auto games have a long history of unexplained body bags and mass graves, so we might never get a 100% confirmed answer from the developers. But between Ursula's chilling confession and the John Marston Easter eggs, I have to say, this lonely spot on the mountain is easily one of the best environmental storytelling details in the entire game. Mount Chiliad might be the biggest mystery in all of GTA's history. We've all seen those Mount Chiliad mystery solved YouTube videos. I won't tell you how to solve it, but interestingly, the mural we see that depicts the map of Mount Chiliad is pretty weird. If you walk inside the cable car station right at the summit of the mountain, there's a map painted directly onto the wall. It depicts a cross-section of Mount Chiliad itself, but scattered all across it are these bizarre cryptic symbols that seem to point to secret objects hidden inside or around the mountain. It even shows what looks like a secret tunnel leading from the surface deep into the core of the mountain. At the very top of the mural, hovering right above the mountain peak, is a very strange symbol. It looks exactly like the Eye of Providence, also known as the All-Seeing Eye. Some players immediately linked this to a UFO, whether it's the sunken wreck you can find off the coast or the one that appears above the mountain itself. If you line up the UFO above the observation station of the cable car, the drawing matches the physical layout of Mount Chiliad perfectly. If you look underneath the wooden viewing platform at the summit, you'll find another strange symbol marked in bright red paint. This red mark bears a strong resemblance to an eye as well, and it is heavily believed to be tied to the From Beyond the Stars achievement, which tasks you with hunting down scattered spaceship parts across the entire map of San Andreas. Written right behind that same viewing platform is a cryptic message carved into the wood. Come back when your story is complete. For a long time, nobody knew what that meant, but it was eventually proven to be an insane late-game Easter egg. If you grind the game out to a legitimate 100% completion and return to the peak of Mount Chiliad under specific weather conditions, a massive modelled UFO will literally appear, floating in midair right above the mountain. Because of all these clues, a large part of the community believes the entire Mount Chiliad mystery is one hell of a reference to the Illuminati. In Illuminati lore, the All-Seeing Eye is traditionally depicted as a floating eyeball placed directly on top of a pyramid. In this case, the mural is essentially telling us that Mount Chiliad is the pyramid. When you combine the floating eye imagery with that cryptic "come back when your story is complete" message, some fans even theorize that it's a direct nod to the New World Order, the mythical Illuminati scheme to take over the world and establish a single totalitarian government. Vaspuchi Beach is a place where there are pedestrians walking. Everything seems to be fine, but there's a house there that has strange murals. The beach itself is busy and ordinary. The strange part is a mural-covered building near the boardwalk. The murals resemble decorative historical portraits. Up close, their black eyes make them feel wrong. The building itself is pretty easy to locate once you know what you're looking for. It sits right near the Vaspuchi boardwalk area, next to Floyd's apartment, which is Trevor's local safe house. The lower walls and upper balcony corridors are covered in these stylized classic paintings. The faces are not normal at all. The figures in the mural are dressed in elegant historical clothing, high collars, formal suits and old world dresses. If you look at their eyes, they're black and non-human. Things get even creepier when you look closely at one of the figures in the mural. One of the painted beings actually appears to be holding a human face in its hands, like a mask. That tiny detail completely changes the vibe of the whole thing. It looks like a hidden message. These are far more mysterious beings hiding, blending in by wearing human faces. GTA 5 has the most variety of creepy and weird places because the map is huge, and if that wasn't enough, there are underwater spots as well, like the sunken UFO you can find, but it would be too obvious to mention that as a weird spot. There's an underwater hatch located far off the east coast of San Andreas. It's a small circular steel structure. If you look closely, there's a small rectangular window built right on top of it. This is an Easter egg referencing the famous hatch from the hit TV show Lost. In the show, this massive steel door was hidden deep in a jungle. But Rockstar decided to sink their version into the very bottom of the ocean. By normal gameplay means, this structure cannot be opened, and its true in-universe purpose inside GTA remains completely unknown. Though PC modders, aside from modding CJ in place of every character in GTA, does what they do best: use mods to find answers to mysteries inside the game. There are recently surfaced videos where they force the hatch open, It confirms the interior is entirely inaccessible during normal play. I have to say, the placement of this is pretty unique, inside the game's crush depth boundary. If you get too greedy and try to approach the metal structure in your submersible, the extreme water pressure will crush your sub to pieces before you can even touch it. You can't jump out and swim to it either. Attempting to scuba dive down to that depth is a guaranteed death as well. Even if you try to outsmart the system by activating the invincibility cheat, the game disables your cheat codes once you cross that depth threshold, ensuring the hatch remains forever out of reach. Because you can't get inside, the real mystery can be decoded by the sound you hear in the space. If you carefully position your submersible above the crush limit and listen closely, a strange rhythmic noise is audible, echoing from inside the hatch. For years, players obsessed over this audio, immediately hypothesizing that the irregular beats were hidden Morse code waiting to reveal a dark, secret message about the game's lore. In reality, the audio is a military tap code, a communication system composed of short taps and pauses that differs slightly from standard Morse. When the community finally managed to decipher the taps, they decoded the message reads, "Hey, you never call. How'd you fancy going bowling?" It's a brilliant callback to Roman Bellic, the annoying cousin of GTA 4 protagonist Niko Bellic. Rockstar took one of the most mysterious, unreachable locations in the entire game and used it to remind us of the brotherly relationship between Niko and Roman. Have you ever heard of the company Zombotech Corporation from San Andreas? Their headquarters had some interesting Easter eggs and weird things in their underground lab. When you walk into the lobby, the building tells you exactly what they're up to. There's a welcome sign that literally reads, "Zombotech Sinister Zombie Virus Research Corporation welcomes visitors." Right in the center of this atrium is a giant sculpture of a human DNA strand. It hints that they're altering genetics to create the undead. If you walk to the back of the building, you'll find a bank of elevators and a detailed diagram showing the layout of the entire Zombotech facility. The map clearly shows a multi-level underground bunker hiding right beneath the city streets with secret laboratories. Naturally, myth hunters lost their minds trying to figure out how to get down there. Players spent months trying to find hidden switches, and people even glitched their way underneath the map into the blue hell to fly beneath the building and look for a secret interior. What did they find? Absolutely nothing. The elevator doors are completely fake, and there's no hidden lab in the game's code. If you're a big Resident Evil fan, like me, you know what this place actually is. The signs and the whole vibe are there. The whole building is a hilarious parody of the Umbrella Corporation. If you spent hours digging into the deep lore of classic zombie games, studying the layouts of the Spencer Mansion, or exploring those iconic underground bases hiding a deadly virus, you immediately recognize the joke Rockstar is making here. They were simply making fun of that famous corporation known for causing zombie outbreaks in multi-story underground labs. This Easter egg was so convincing though, that a rumor spread, claiming Nemesis himself was hiding somewhere inside the Zombotech building. Of course, that turned out to be false. What would Nemesis have to do with CJ after all? But it's really one of my favourite places from the game. For the last spot, let me tell you about a spot that references one of my favourite movies of all time. We're heading back to the neon streets of Vice City, specifically to a completely unassuming building down in Ocean Beach, known as Apartment 3C. If you drive past it, it looks like any other random building in Vice City. There's nothing. But if you find the entrance and walk inside, the bathroom is a whole crime scene from Sherlock Holmes. The bathtub and the surrounding walls are splattered with a large amount of blood, and right there in the middle of the room is a chainsaw pickup. If you look around the rest of the apartment, you'll also find a large open suitcase stuffed with 3 bags of cocaine. This entire scene is an homage to the legendary 1983 gangster film Scarface, which is one of my favourite movies. Specifically, it recreates the infamous Sunray Hotel scene, where a drug deal goes horribly wrong, and Tony Montana is forced to watch his friend Angel Fernandez get brutally killed with a chainsaw in a bathtub. Since Vice City itself is already a love letter to 1980s Florida and mafia culture, and honestly, hiding this exact cinematic scene in the game is a really perfect fit. And if you think that such an iconic spot has something to do with the game's story, then you are wrong. In the final version of Vice City, Apartment 3C plays no role in the storyline. It exists as a creepy Easter egg, but originally, this was meant to be a playable safe house. The plan was for the player to receive a mission from the ruthless mafia boss, Sonny Forelli, break in, murder the owner, and steal the apartment for themselves. Because of the dark backstory, the community went wild. Players started spreading rumours about a chainsaw killer roaming the map who was responsible for the massacre. There was even a rumour that in the beta version of the game, players could trigger a cutscene, like the movie, showing the poor victim getting chopped up and the blood splattering on the walls. While there is zero evidence that a cutscene existed, the fact that a mysterious Hermes car is always parked nearby keeps the rumours alive. Rockstar loved recycling their assets back in the 3D era. That same blood splatter is the one they used in GTA 3 when you blow up the jail cell in the Cambu bust-out mission. And it's the same blood found around the dead security guards at the airport in Grand Theft Auto. They even reused that exact texture for their incredibly dark stealth game, Manhunt. The devs at Rockstar really know how to reuse assets from their previous games. And these spots are only the beginning. Investigate the weirdest places in GTA by clicking on the video. I'll see you there.